Another Wednesday.
Another pod.
We're back in the stew. Feels good. We got opening day, real time later today. Magic Eagles. Pretty excited for this one. But before that, we got a really jam-packed pod here. A lot of whiffs, fan call-in, talking some spring training, some power rankings that were not contentious at all, as well as a little bit of gamesmanship we got going on.
A little bit of gamesmanship.
A little game here.
Gentleman's bet going on.
Something we're developing, a developing story on the Pipe It Up podcast. So you guys will have to stick around to hear that. And this is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. And we are here today to talk about pretty much whiffs.
Whiffs. We got a lot
of
whiffs.
Season.
We got it's
here. Whiff season. Opening day week. Pretty exciting. Couple days away, 48 hours from opening day. So we're definitely going to be talking a lot about that. Let's start off, Jack, and look at spring training.
Yeah.
Ugly game. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but a couple things to chat about.
Ugly for one team.
Yeah, for one team specifically. Yeah. I mean, even my performance I thought was ugly.
I mean, there were areas for improvement all around. I think that's the point of spring training.
It is. Again, we've mentioned it on previous years' podcasts, but it is beneficial for a lot of reasons. Number one, like it is a video people seem to look forward to because it kind of gets you back excited for opening day, and like it might pop up on your For You page, like, oh, MLW's starting back up again. So it's beneficial for that reason.
Yeah.
It's beneficial for the players to get out there that want to and can get some reps in prior to playing in a real meaningful game, as well as it is beneficial for like the behind the scenes aspect of the production side to figure out if things have changed from last year, what went well, what didn't go well, and that kind of thing. So like it does serve a purpose.
It is kind of cool because it's not like an all-star game necessarily, but you do get the idea of kind of seeing a team collected of guys that normally, don't play together. Like I was wondering, just watching you guys continuously run the score up on the AL, if that NL team is a World Series caliber team, hypothetically.
I'd like to think
you guys. I like to think it is.
I'd like to think that that's a talented group of four guys right there.
I mean, that is a tough lineup to get through. That's a tough lineup to get through. And you guys showed it.
But granted, we were also playing against a couple guys who had never played at the Meadows before.
Yeah.
Never put on an MLW jersey prior to that day, being the rookies we had last week. And if you guys couldn't tell from what we were wearing, like we filmed this podcast last week immediately following that game.
Yeah.
So if you listen back to that one, specifically the Levi interview, it was funny how he was kind of commenting on how, like, there was some subtle hints he kind of dropped in there about how that game went, but it wasn't.
I would say overall they were in pretty good spirits though for how that game went. Like in that
they
area.
were. The old man Tom here got him right mentally before we started the show, but we had just a good time out there. I was cracking jokes, and so if you guys didn't watch it and you want to see it before we spoil it, definitely pause the podcast and watch the spring training video, then come back. Welcome back, if so. The National League, consisting of myself, Jimmy Norp, Jonah Heath, and Daniel Schultz, beat the American League, which consisted of Kyle Schultz, Levi Fleer, Ty Frensnick, and Jackson Pearson, by a score of 16-2 over 5 innings. So I didn't even know it was that high until I saw the video back. Couple home run balls, 4 home runs really did the AL in. I hit two home runs myself. I started off 2 for 2 with 2 bombs. But again, the reason I brought this up is because we were having fun out there, right? And I was like, I sent a Snapchat to I think you and a bunch of people before the game, like driving to the Meadows, listening to country music, like POV on my way to not make contact and go over 5 with 5Ks. Because I had not last year, because my team played an opening day, I had practice before spring training probably already once or twice, like gotten some swings in, even pitched a little bit. So I had a feel for the game again, But this year I have not touched a ball since the Texas Rumble. The expectations were not high.
Yeah.
Maybe that played to my advantage. Maybe it didn't. I think what it comes down to is just I've been playing the MLW style for a long time, and my timing is there, and the swings were bad. Like my one home run that I hit was like an inside riser that jammed me, but I got enough bat on it to go to right field with it. Like the pitch, an inside pitch, Jack, you're not a baseball guy. An inside pitch should not go to right field.
No.
Should go to left
field.
Should not. So I know, you know that.
Right, I knew that, yeah.
So anyways, the swings were not good. My strikeout against Ty was horrendous. I knew it immediately, like, that's going to look ugly on camera. It didn't look as bad as I thought, but you could hear us in the mic'd up kind of laugh, like, when I struck out, because it was such an awkward swing. But I just hadn't, again, I hadn't seen pitches. Yeah, it was a big-time whiff of the week for me.
Yeah.
So I think we just played loose. It was a vibe tribe, and in this case, it worked. But I'm not to say that always translates successfully.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, I think, looking at just, I wasn't there, but I want to get your perspective on specifically the rookies' performance. I mean, they, Levi, at least on film, seemed like he had the ball moving a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing might not have been locating to the spots that he wanted, because there were a few that were just kind of put out there, on a platter. Pretty impressive, I would say, like, overall for the first go of those guys. How was it? How did they kind of live up to what you expected for that spring training for them?
I'd say they played a little better than I expected, specifically on the offensive side. They had pretty solid at bats. Ty had a rocket to the wall off of Jimmy Norp. And Levi just missed a grand slam. He came up with the bases loaded and popped one up, but he got he got it in the barrel.
Yeah.
So they were on timing wise, and pitch selection was good. So they didn't look out of place at all offensively, and they didn't look out of place on the mound either. It's very common, even in MLW regular season, for the first outing of the year for each of the aces to be a little bit shaky location wise. So I saw a good amount of movement from them. Levi had a pretty disgusting, almost banana ball, but more of a curve.
Yeah.
More 12-6-y, but not fully 12-6. And if he could have commanded that, he would have been tough. But because he wasn't commanding it, I was kind of just laying off, and then I ended up getting a 3-2 riser right down the middle that I was able to hit.
Right.
Pretty similar story for Ty. It was the location was not the best, walked too many batters, and then was forced to make strike pitches when hitters were looking for him. So if they can figure out just the MLW distance and the zone and just get their body ready for the season, they're solid. I mean, Levi's going to have bigger shoes to fill right away, considering he kind of is already slotted in as that number 2 guy, whereas the Wildcats won't depend as much on Ty in the bullpen. But offensively, I think both are weapons.
Yeah.
Which is huge for the Preds and for the Cats, because the Cats have lacked the depth a little bit. And now bringing in 2 guys who could be very good offensively as rookies is massive.
Yeah, I think Levi, if he can kind of figure out how to locate, he's got probably some of the most movement out of a second arm in the league.
Yeah.
Ty had his throwing motion really threw me off, because he brings the ball behind his back when he's winding up and then throws it. So when you're watching it, if you're watching the ball or watching his hand, it really throws you off, because he goes from back here to then throwing it. And I don't know, I don't know if it looked weird in person, him doing that, but I feel like guys don't normally do that. They keep it here kind of in like you would in baseball, and then they throw it. So it's not as drastic of if you're watching the ball, if you're trying to watch the ball come out of his hand. I don't know. It seemed distracting watching it on TV. I don't know if, or on the
big screen.
Video. Yeah. I don't know if you thought it was distracting live, or if you even thought about that.
Didn't think about it too much. So much like Sawyer, when Sawyer was young though, I did notice that Ty likes to work quick. So he's he gets his grip and he just goes to the plate. So you got to kind of be on your toes in the batter's box. And I was sort of being pesky and not
slowing him down.
I was intentionally messing with him a little bit. Not a whole bunch. I'm not causing a disturbance to the game or anything, but I was taking my classic deep breath in, deep breath out that Jimmy comments on all the time. He's whenever Tom's playing, you can hear the deep breaths at the Meadows. But so yeah, I was trying to switch up his pacing, much like I was to Sawyer when I faced Sawyer in his rookie outing a few years ago. And it's unconventional. Something that I think might be cool for you guys to hear about. I was going to bring it up last week and I didn't, but I'm familiar with Ty's game, not only because I've umpired his games at tournaments for 3-4 years now, so I've seen him play a lot, but I've also taken some at-bats off of Ty, Jack.
Oh, really?
So this was sneaky, and it worked for one game and then it didn't work. But in preparation for playing the Eagles in the playoffs last year, I wanted to face someone who had that Dallas Allen drop ball, that sidearm drop that Dallas throws. So none of my guys can really, like Davenport or Matt or even Caden, don't have that pitch kind of like Dallas does. But I've seen Ty throw that at tournaments. So I DM'd him and I was like, yo, would you want to come throw to my guys before our series? And he's like, yeah, I'm down. So I picked him up. We went to the Meadows and he pitched to me and Matt and Carlington, or me and Matt and Davenport for like an hour. Took some at-bats off of him and I hit 2 home runs then, but it didn't work out. We lost the series, of course, but I'm like familiar with his throwing motion. Yeah, that was a slide.
That is very interesting. That is very interesting.
I appreciate him offering to help. I didn't like pay him or anything.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's always good to be familiar with a rookie's game because I feel like, it's the sort of like RJ Walgate effect where it takes guys a minute to figure out their release and their pitches and stuff just because they haven't seen it before. It's a new guy, Yeah,
I wonder if that rookie shock factor will ever slow down. Like we've been playing the game for so long, some of us veterans now, it's like we've seen so much.
But each guy, I think the guys that come in and throw your traditional like sliders and stuff like that, I don't think take as long to adapt to. But just like, I guess it wasn't as big of a deal for you, but just watching the video for me, like that little thing of how Ty winds up I know for a fact that would take me a couple at bats to get used to, just because it's just the way that he's winding up and the timing of it and like, seeing the ball come out of his hands. Like I just know for a fact that would take me a couple.
I didn't do anything off of Ty, for the record. He was the bad strikeout I had. Was that the same drop ball that I practiced seeing off him was the one he struck me out on so bad. But ball was coming in hot, dude. I remember everyone got a good laugh out of everybody, but Jackson was warming up, so I was kind of standing near the batter's box watching him, and like I watched him throw and I turned and saw the gun. It was like 71. I'm like, that's 71? Like I forgot how fast it comes in.
Did the rookies do a decent job with their speed? I don't know in their league if they mentioned that they use like a speed limit or not.
I think theirs might be a little faster. I can't remember. But Levi had some speed violation and issues of that nature. Nothing that like hurt him terribly because the game was such a blowout, of course, but there was some ball fours that were called and some pitches where like it was a 1-1 count. He throws a strike to be up 1-2, but now it's 2-1 because he threw 74. So that did happen. So they're getting a feel for it. I think if you're a Preds fan or a Cats fan, you should be happy they were out there because that's what you saw from Levi could have been in your first series, which not that he was horrible, but not where you want him to be quite yet,
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I feel like everyone expects rookies now because we've had so many good ones that come into the league right away and are great right away that's kind of like the expectation. And I don't really think that it should be that, of course it's going to take some time.
Yeah. There's been a very diverse cast of talent to come in, some great, some not so great, some that saw opportunity, some that didn't, some that weren't able to commit to a big role in the league. So these drafts are always interesting, but from seeing those two, I knew they'd be solid, but I was surprised with how comfortable they seemed at the plate already, given that was their first time out there, and the pitching will come. I think, it's not every day an RJ pops out there and does great on day one. So this is a good class because I think Ballman will be solid. I don't know much about Esch, the guy that Drew got. Who else though? You have some of the Bay City kids are very familiar with the games. This is a strong, balanced class, I think.
The other thing, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later when we preview the opening day, but is Dan making a revival on the mound? Because he looked more like old Dan.
He didn't
and
look
not
bad.
like what we saw last year. I don't know how he felt out there.
I mean, we'll find out a lot on Friday when we see opening day, but from what I know, it's going to be Dallas and Blade. Dan's the number 3. He might even put Landon above himself. I don't know, but he looked good, which I was happy for him. It's never fun to go out there and struggle. He threw a lot of strikes, so he's a veteran. He goes out there and he'll battle, just like I'll battle. He might be better at it than I am, but he did a good job. We had a good time.
Yeah, it looked like fun.
It was fun. It was good to get back out there. The weather was shockingly good. It's been a weird April.
It has.
Even today, we're playing opening day, actually today, like in real time as we record this. And it's like going to be almost 80 degrees, Jack. Muggy.
Yeah, hot though.
Windy
and like humid.
Kind of gross.
Weird combo.
Last year it was chilly. It was like I think, well, it was still nice. It was like 60, I think, but cloudy. And
What do you, I haven't remembered playing. Well, first of all, I've never played in an opening day.
oh, congrats.
So
It's a lot of pressure.
yeah, big for the Magic squad. The opening day videos always do really well. So I'm excited for
that'll get the jerseys moving.
for the jerseys.
Yeah.
That'll get the jerseys moving. We're moving units. But I was going to ask, I don't really recall playing in a bunch of super windy series. What do you find?
I can hear it whistling.
What do you find is it like, I guess it obviously depends on the wind, but is it normally like balls are just flying out of the yard or guys can't find their pitches?
I think it's mostly affected for the pitchers.
They just can't,
It's
just
mostly
harder to control.
It's mostly tough on the pitchers because even in baseball, like it feels, if you have a 10-mile-per-hour wind coming straight at you in baseball, it feels like you got nothing on your fastball that day.
Yeah.
So in wiffle ball, it just gets very tough. Wiffle ball is definitely not a game designed to be played in high winds. Not saying it's like super high out there, but I think it's like low teens.
Yeah. There'll be some gusts.
Yeah, there'll be probably some high gusts. That's typical, and for our Slate 1 games, people got to deal with some wind. So I think as a hitter, just be patient, Jack. Be patient. See some pitches.
This is definitely the obviously the earliest I've played, but you mentioned in the spring training video that you felt like the off season was a long off season, and I feel like completely the opposite because I played in the last series and now we're playing in the first series, and so this has been the shortest feeling off season because it has been the shortest off season. But yeah, I'm excited to get going.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel that way, but I think it's because the previous off season just was like a blink of an eye for me. I don't know, for whatever reason. Even though this, like actual time wise, we didn't actually wrap up in Atlanta until almost Halloween, and now it's not even May yet. So this was, I think, our shortest off season in many, many years, but it felt longer to me for whatever reason. But yeah, it was good to get back out there. I had a good time. Glad I put some decent numbers up. Not that it matters. I'll take my September Heisman, I guess.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. But I didn't walk away from that really feeling any more confident. I felt good that I was like, okay, I can go out there and compete even with some subpar preparation.
Yeah. I mean,
but
it's
it did
nice
make me
to
feel,
get,
it wasn't like I'm so back. I didn't have that mentality leaving.
it's nice to get some results.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went there and just struck out every time and, weren't feeling confident up there, it would.
Yeah, it was good to be like, okay, I can still hit a riser.
Right.
That was good to confirm. Also, I still can't catch a ball at first base.
That was
nothing's changed really since last year.
That was the one thing when the one that you hit off, that riser was off Levi, right?
They were both risers. Yeah.
That was my thought, was just like, all right, the MLW vets still got it. Like if you're gonna groove in a slider, like, middle to bottom of the frame, like that's gone.
Dan said something. Dan said something funny. I forget what it was. When I was jogging back to home, doing my home run trot for the first home run, Dan's like, "Still got it, Tom.
Still got it.
Still got it." I'm laughing around the bases. I literally was laughing the whole time. I was like, "Did I seriously just?"
It looked like a good time.
It was fun
for the NL.
It was fun, but. Last comment. This is actually big news, guys. Big news for me. I have an announcement to make.
Big
Jack.
News alert.
I don't know if you saw it on your script today or not, but Casey Bennett
didn't make it in.
Casey Bennett caught a stray in the Jackson Pearson mic'd up segment.
Yep.
Unfortunate for Benny. And I've thrown my fair share of strays at Benny.
Yeah.
But I would like to put it on the record right now that I'm done. Me and Bennett we're at peace. I'm no longer going to be taking shots at Benny. It's too mainstream now. So I'm gonna find a new target to bully a little bit.
So once other people are in, you're out.
Yeah, it's not cool anymore. Once, like, if you're bullying a kid and then someone else starts bullying him, it's like, whoa, that's my guy. Like that's my guy.
That's my kid.
You can't make fun of that kid. That's who I make fun of. So then I'm gonna beat up that guy. I'm gonna beat up JP
in true bully fashion. There you go.
In true bully fashion. So now I gotta find somebody else.
I'd love to hear your JP slander
about JP.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could slander JP too much. Doesn't
have to be right here, now.
Nothing I'd want to say on the air. Yeah, JP, we'll see you in the World Series, buddy. We'll take you down.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Other news, Jack, and MLW. Let's shift from spring training. Is the power rankings, the preseason power rankings, the ever so famous preseason power rankings, and what do you think? I'll read them out loud here so you guys know, in case you don't have it, you're not looking at it in front of you on YouTube. Number 1, we have the Metro Magic. Number 2, the Mallards. Number 3, the Eagles. 4 D-backs, 5 Wildcats, 6 Predators, 7 Cobras, and 8 Great Lakes Gators. Initial thoughts?
Well, I don't think I saw any people disagree in the comments at all.
No, me neither.
which was pretty remarkable. I made a comment on the Instagram post, ironically, obviously, that I thought this was the first time that the power rankings were done perfectly preseason.
Of course they were.
Well, I don't think they're perfect. I mean, no one will ever say that they're perfect, right? I guess starting from the top, I think, I mean, it's tough to not put the Magic up top, just, being the defending World Series champs. So I think that one was fair. I think slight diss to the Eagles. I feel like this is the sort of recency bias of the fact that, you guys added Jorgensen in this trade. The Eagles didn't really add anything shiny or new, to their team, but they're still a great team. I think they still earned they earned their NL champ status from last year. And until someone proves that they're better, I think they probably could be above you guys, flipping that 2 and 3.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I think that we are a good team, and that is me speaking both as our manager and as someone who's confident in what we have, as well as from the outside looking in. Like, we've won the league 2 years in a row. We won our division 2 years in a row, fallen short of the World Series both times in an elimination game, so we were right there. But it's hard for me to justify making that leap, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, I do think Jorgensen's a big addition, so I can see why Kyle did it, and the Eagles didn't draft anybody, and the Eagles did blow the lead in the World Series, but I think the top 3 teams are correct. I may have flipped 2 and 3. Now, looking further, Jack, let's look at, I guess, 4, 5, 6 here. He has D-backs at 4, Wildcats at 5, Predators at 6. I honestly wouldn't have hated to see the Wildcats jump the D-backs.
Yeah. This one's really hard for me because I think you could make a case that any one of those 3 teams should be in the 4 spot. It's tough to see a team with the MVP ranked 6th out of 8th.
Yeah.
When they just added a kid that we saw has a lot of potential on the mound and at the plate, which having that second arm has sort of been the Preds' Achilles heel, like in recent years, pretty much forever. And now it seems like they've sort of addressed that. So, I mean, I think you can make the case for the Wildcats or the Predators to jump them. I think you also have a valid argument, obviously, to keep the D-backs.
Yeah, you do. If it was me, I would have had to do more research, I guess. But I think I would have put the D-backs at 6, to be honest, which is crazy to say because they are good. But just the fact that they looked a little deflated to end their season. Their draft pick's a young guy in Bay City. I don't know if he'll be like a immediate impact type guy. Their offense is great. Jimmy, Jonah, Pishka, it's a very solid 4. Even Bennett's not bad, but pitching wise, I think they got to figure out their rhythm a little bit. Is Jimmy the guy? Is it Trey? Is it a combination of both? I don't know. Yeah,
I think with the additions that the Wildcats had through this draft, I think you gotta put them 5.
This is probably the most confident I've been in saying that the Wildcats picks will be positive impact players pretty quickly. Like for last year, you had Grant. The year before, I had Robles. I knew both those guys would be good. That was just one player. Kyle's got 2, and I figured it would take both of them a little bit of time, being Robles and Grant, because they never played the MLW style before.
Right.
But like Ballman and Frenznick play a very similar game, and they've played with us in tournaments. They know what we bring to the table. You saw them in spring training. I think they're going to translate in well. I don't know if their ceilings are as high as guys like Jordan and Grant, but the Wildcats offense is a totally new look. Great pitching now too. So I think there's enough there in my head, knowing what I know, to justify them, even though they lost in the DS, to be a top 4 team.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then you got the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
You got the Cobes and you got the Gators. I honestly wouldn't have hated to see the Gators jump the Cobes, but
really?
Is that bold?
I think they got to earn it a little bit. I mean, they made a lot of moves. I think that there will be growing pains, not only from, I would imagine that Sawyer kind of becomes their number one guy. At least that's what it looks like on paper with what they've done with their roster in this offseason. I think there'll be growing pains for him kind of going from like the number 2 to the number 1. I think there will also be growing pains with them just kind of like figuring out who the Gators are. I mean, they got rid of their manager. They got rid of their best bat on their team from a season ago. So it's like this team has kind of flipped around. Bunch of new guys who, Jason and Chris obviously are close, but the other two guys, we'll have to see how they jive.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. We don't know how they jive yet.
I think we know what we're going to get from the Cobras, even with all their moves.
Have no idea I don't know what we're going to get from them.
I mean, I think, I don't know. I just think that the Gators, I think the Gators got to prove it a little bit.
Okay. That's fair. Earn their stripes a little bit.
Yeah, they got to earn their stripes a little.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. There's the power rankings. Definitely leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts, who you think got robbed, who you think is a little too high. We would love to hear your feedback, and I'm sure Kyle gets a good kick out of it as well, since he's the one who creates these things.
Never contentious.
Let's look at opening day, Jack.
Because
we got the number 1 team versus the number 3 team. World Series rematch. Our first time doing that since the Wildcats and D-backs squared off to start off the 2022 season.
Yep.
And these are typically pretty good series, these rematches. So how you feeling? It's game day.
I'm feeling good. It is. It's game day. It's really cool to get an opportunity to go right back to playing the Eagles. I must say, just because you look at it from both teams' perspectives, and this is kind of what I told my guys. If the Magic come out and we kind of make a statement and win the series 2-1 or sweep them, I mean, that's going to say a lot about us as a team competitively, like in this league. I think there were some people last year that kind of thought it was a bit like fluky of a season, like that we got to that point, that we were able to win those 3 games in a row to win. And so I think that would just like solidify like the type of team we are, the caliber we can play at. And then on the flip side, you look at the Eagles, and if the Eagles come out and do that, then it's like, for them in their minds, it's like, we are the team that we think we are. We can do this. Their fans know that they can do this. Going up against, number 1 team in the power rankings for what that's worth. But that's what I think I'm most excited about, is it's a statement series, I think, for both teams.
Yeah, I think it'll be a battle. I expect RJ to have his best stuff. I expect Dallas to as well. I don't anticipate them being too wild. Win could be a factor. I know RJ, though, has put in some time. I'm guessing Dallas has too. Dallas seems pretty fired up. He's been posting on social media and stuff. A lot of the players have, actually, these last few days. And I think it's going to come down to probably a lot like the World Series, the role players.
Yeah.
Could be one big hit. You're probably going to see low-scoring games here. I don't think we'll see a World Series Game 2 situation. I guess you never know.
Yeah.
But I look at guys like Blade Walker. Blade is coming off a great year, a year that no one really saw coming. And I think he has maybe the most to prove today, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's him. And then I mentioned AJ to you before we started recording, and you said AJ might only make 1 game of this series. So I think if he makes an appearance today at the Meadows, he also has a lot to prove to kind of continue to cement himself as like a real offensive threat in this league, and that wasn't just a fluke series.
Yeah. I think that, it's going to come down to just who's most consistent early season, right? And I think a lot of it for like the pitchers is just locating. You look back on the World Series, and like the Eagles didn't really see Trevor. I mean, they saw that version of Trevor, but he only pitched a couple innings, and it was not representative of his game. So they've never really seen Trevor. They obviously got to see a fair amount of RJ, but I think the difference will just be who can kind of limit the walks, who can limit the mistakes, as opposed to like who's going to go out there and hit 5 home runs over the fence. It's going to be more about, coming out and minimizing those mistakes. I think those errors.
Mm-hmm. I expect Grant Miller to do some damage today, Jack. I got a feeling.
I expect him to as well. He's ready to go.
I
know he's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's playing. I know he'll come out ready.
You think so?
I know he will. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share with us from a strategy standpoint that will look different this year from last year? Or are you going to kind of stick to your guns with what worked?
We kind of had a team meeting a few days ago or earlier this week or last week, and kind of talked about some of those things, some strategy. I think by and large, our conversation sort of followed the theme of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if we feel differently at some point, then we can change it. Mm-hmm. But I think most of what we're going to try to do this year from a strategy standpoint is going to be similar to what you saw last year. That being said, there were a few things that we discussed that I'm not going to share on the podcast, but there were a few things that we discussed strategy-wise that I think you might see. Haven't really made up my mind yet. I think it'll kind of be situational type things that you might see. But as I told my guys on our call, I think this league is obviously ever changing, ever evolving and adapting. And I think if you're not adapting with that and trying to push the boundaries a little bit of what people can do or what people will try, then you're falling behind. And I think that, can give you an advantage if you're doing things that other teams might not expect. So like that. We'll see. We'll see how things shake out. But I think, if you're a Magic fan, we're obviously looking to stick to our guns and, rely on good pitching and good defense and score on the opportunities that we can score on.
Good. Feeling good then overall? Confident?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling athletic, agile. Good. Mobile.
Well, I know hostile. He's planning on getting there pretty early today to get some reps in.
We are getting there early to get some BP in.
That's good.
That went a long way last year in some of our series for just really like getting the feel. It's one thing to kind of get some like BP before the series and just have people lobbing them in and you're just ripping, ripping home dingers. Runs. Yeah. In your warm up. But it's a different thing to have. Well, that's what I've always done. Like that's been my warm up. Mm-hmm. And then, I go out there for the first or second at bat and it looks like the ball's moving like 110 miles an hour.
It's so different.
It's so different. So when you can, I think, obviously getting live reps beforehand helps, but like right before you go, if you just get your eye warm, it's like warming up your eyes almost more than your hands. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree.
It's warming up the timing and the coordination of your eyes to read that like 70, 72 mile an hour pitch that's moving and, knowing where you got to get your hands to put the bat on the ball.
Yeah, I don't, at least last year, we'll see if we're able to follow suit this year with my guys and coordinate as many practices as we did last year, which is about once a week, which is a good amount.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It made a difference for sure. And with that, like those were live reps and I was seeing the ball out of arm slots that are more realistic to in-game versus like in BP, like everyone throws batting practice from the top guys, like in baseball pretty much, like you're just lobbing it in. No one in this league really throws from up there. Like no one. It's all like sidearm and underhand and like way out wide.
3/4 maybe.
Or if it is up top, it's like a screwball type thing. So it's just, you don't see that. So pretty much when I take batting practice to the field, I probably only hit about a bucket's worth, 3 minutes or so. And it's more so just to make sure that I remember how to swing the bat. I just get the feeling of like hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
A mental confidence thing. And then once I step out, I kind of do like reset my mind. Like, okay, forget that now. Like think about what you were thinking about from a like visualization standpoint before you just took that batting practice.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same for your eyes at all.
Yeah. I am like personally, I'm really looking forward to this season just because the year before last season, I didn't have like a full season. So last year was my first real full season.
Kind of one for one.
Like in a while. Yeah. So it felt like it, 2 seasons ago, it felt like I didn't really play a lot. I only played in 2 series. It's tough to kind of get a feel in 2 series. So then last year, when the season started, at least through the first kind of 2-3 series, I felt like I was still figuring it out a little bit. And then started to make like a lot more contact and had a few home runs, obviously, like in the postseason.
Yeah,
like I think my average in the postseason was at least respectable compared to what it was in the regular season. And there were some things that I just kind of like figured out and felt out and watched on film and changed, and that was like the difference. And I'm remembering those things now, so I'm expecting to hopefully like start fast this year, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, start running.
And instead of waiting, or using 2 or 3 series to like kind of figure it out.
60% of your regular season.
Exactly.
I mean, I couldn't blame you. It's hard to pick up sometimes. But I wish you luck, Jack. We're going to give predictions for not only opening day, but for the entire slate, actually, in a new segment here near the end of this podcast. Make sure you guys stick around. Before we get into that, Jack, we're going to welcome on a fan right now.
Let's do it.
A little live Q in the day. So let's jump to the Q of the day right now. Okay. Long awaited. Finally, Jack, we pulled it off. We have a fan present on the show today to do a little live Q for the fellas.
Love it.
Gotta love it. So we want to welcome on Nigel at this time. Nigel, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and calling into the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I had the pleasure of Nigel's a longtime fan, guys. How many years have you been watching MLW?
Yeah, so I started watching opening day 2020.
2020. Okay.
It'll be year 4.
Prime time
to join.
Never been a better time to watch MLW
No, there really
than
hasn't.
2020.
But he's a big fan. Nigel and I have exchanged dozens of DMs over the years. He's asking me questions about the league and giving me feedback on the pod. Nigel's actually a critical piece, Jack, to the growth of the pod. He gives me some good criticism.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's cool.
Big supporter.
Got him on the show, first time calling in. So again, thank you so much for doing this with us. And fire away. What questions you got for today's discussion?
Yeah, so I know you guys are kind of going into the kind of a look at the season coming up. So my question is, what teams do you think are the most dependent on their draft picks this year? Like what draft picks from this past draft do you think will be the most crucial in these teams making the playoffs?
That's a really good question. I think one that definitely jumps to mind is the Cobras pick, because we talked about how Drew really had to nail that pick. And he went with about as wild card of a pick as you could go with. Sort of big risk, high risk, high reward. With the other teams in the AL, I just feel like they're going to need a lot of production out of their rookie to make that playoff push. The Wildcats are looking really scary. They added those 2 guys. I don't think they're as dependent on them because, they have some veterans on their team already. I think, Jackson will probably still pitch a lot this year, depending on how things go. Magic obviously returning everyone. And then the Predators do add someone, but they've also just basically have, rode on the coattails of Kratch every year to the postseason pretty much anyway. So that Cobras one definitely sticks out to me.
I would say, for similar reasons to Jack, I think the Gators are going to rely the most heavily on their draft pick. I think there's a lot of eyes on Sawyer right now, given that he's sort of, from the outside looking in, like their ace and has the most potential to be their ace, and they need to be good on offense. But just given how the Gators don't really have a lot of depth right now, it's kind of like their lineup is their lineup, and that's that. So with the number 2 overall pick, Jeremy Adams, he has a lot of potential. You guys saw his highlights in the draft video. He is a talented player. He can pitch, he can hit, and if he's able to adjust his game to MLW and learn quick and settle in, like, he could be their star.
Right.
He has the potential to do that. He's like the star of the team that won the U17 national championship in wiffle ball.
Yeah.
So, like, he can be that guy. I think there's a lot of eyes on Ballman right now and not as much on Adams for whatever reason that is amongst the comments, but I think he could be massive. And if he ends up being a flop, then unfortunately it could be a long year for the Gators.
Yeah,
no matter what Sawyer does.
I agree with that. I mean, they're on the outside looking in in a tough tough division. So agree with that.
What do you think, Nigel?
Yeah, so you guys kind of hit the ones I had. I definitely had the Gators as my number one answer for this. I think
I got it right.
Good job.
Yeah,
you aced
definitely. I mean, and they had the free agent pickup Aiden Richard as well. So we'll see. I mean, the Magic had a free agent pickup last year who was really impactful in the World Series. So I think both of those two guys are going to be really crucial in them making the playoffs this year. I also had the Preds. I know, like Jack said, they've been riding on Crash for a long time, and it gets them really far, but they haven't seen the World Series in a long time, and I think it's just because they don't have a second arm. And Levi kind of got lit up in spring training. I know it's spring training, but it'll be interesting to see how he settles in once the regular season gets going.
For sure. All right, cool. Well, good question. Appreciate not asking about how far the fences are and if we'll push them back. We got time for one more if you got another one.
Yeah, I got another one. So, how, do you think this is the year? I know it's been talked about on the pod before, but do you think this is the year where managers start to implement the closer role for pitchers? And I think I've got a couple teams in mind for who could be possible candidates, both of your teams included. And I think there's definitely some room for that on the rosters this year. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think, Nigel, it'll be one of those things where if someone goes for it and it works, it'll be like, what a genius play, Or it could blow up in someone's face. Because as you know, being a fan of the league and a very, very close viewer, the margin for error in the postseason is very small in this league. So say I have Jordan Robles throwing in game 1 against the Downtown Diamondbacks in the NLCS this year. And say he goes 6 up, 6 down in with no issues, 6 Ks, just sitting guys down. Now, say all season long, I've been using a closer and it's been pretty successful for us. Maybe it was like so-so, but we've been doing it. So say I take out Robles, who is just dominating, and I put out Preston Colm to close the game out, and he gives up the bomb. It's like, dude, Robles was sitting hitters down. Like, what were you thinking? But if Preston closes the door, it's like, this is awesome. Like, this worked so great. So I am someone who loves to switch it up and loves to, kind of like Jack mentioned, like try to adapt and change and never be satisfied with what you're currently doing. And I especially can't because I haven't won anything yet. But it's hard for me to kind of take the trial and error approach there when there's only 15 games in the season and the games are very meaningful. And in the playoffs, you have a 3-game series to prove yourself. So while I love to do the trial and error thing, I think that's sometimes the best way to learn or to figure things out. It does scare me. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm going to have a team meeting with my guys before our first series, and I'll probably bring that up just out of curiosity. But it's a scary thing to try. That's my answer in short.
Yeah. I mean, I have very limited competitive wiffle ball experience actually playing. So how impactful is it seeing a new arm in the middle of a game like that? Do you think it would make a difference?
I think it would make so this is what I think is part of the problem with the rule. On paper, it seems like this could be a no-brainer potentially, right? You have a guy just come in, all he needs is 3 outs. You switch up the eye, the arm slot a little bit for the eye of the batter, and you get out of there with a win. That being said, wiffle ball is so interesting. Just take, for example, just the actual ball itself. We talked about this in the World Series, how the first ball in games 1 and 2, Dallas just did a better job at figuring out how to throw the ball, and RJ couldn't, and Trevor couldn't either. So say, for example, we're a similar example to what Tommy said, where, we get to the inning 3 and let's say we're up by a run or 2 and RJ's been pitching. He's already figured this ball out now, right? And so then if I'm like, hey, Trevor, go in there, and he warms up and it's like, I don't like this ball, well, then it's like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So it's not like baseball where it's every ball is literally the same. And those differences those differences between, an inch or whatever, if the ball's hitting the zone or not, those matter and those make a difference. So I think that's like part of the reason why managers are a little bit timid to try it. Because
a good word.
Like you said, Tommy, it's like if it doesn't work, it just looks so silly because the games are so short.
Yeah.
It's one thing in baseball, like, because the games are so long. So it's like, you have to have like a closer or like a reliever. But in wiffle ball, it's not like the guy's arm is like falling off or getting worn, or he's got a pitch count. You know what I mean? It really would be the situation of, hey, I think that they're kind of getting around to him. He's done okay so far. We might want to switch it up. And that's just a tough decision when you're winning the game, if you're winning the game.
Yeah, it is. It's so hard, but I agree with Jack where it's like they're kind of getting on him now. Like, I'll just say it straight up. Like, the Eastern Eagles have a history of seeing Jordan Robles well, right? And so let's take last year, for example, when Robles was throwing and they started to get around to him again. Like, say he gets through the first game, no problem, and then maybe he starts game 3 and they're like putting the ball in play a little bit. Then maybe it's like, oh, let's have someone close this game out, maybe. But to answer your question, Nigel, I think that I wouldn't say that there is a rubric for what actually is the best way to manage a bullpen in this league. Baseball, we've kind of seen it to where like it's awesome if your starter can go like at least 6, maybe 7. That'd be excellent. And you have like your 8th inning guy and your 9th inning guy. You have a certain guy for righties and lefties. Wiffle ball and MLW and 3-inning ball games and 9-inning series, I wouldn't say that there is something on paper where it's like, this is what needs to be done. And if you try anything else, you're silly. You know? Someone's going to have to take a leap. Possibly. Could be me. Could be Jack.
What other teams, Nigel, other than our teams, were you thinking of that might be able to utilize that strategy?
I have the Cobras. Definitely the Cobras. I mean, they've got Barron. They've got Irwin now. Zerlag said he was practicing pitching. Drew could always make it back on the mound if he's only got to pitch an inning. So they got a crew there. There's I think 8 players on that team right now. So there's definitely a lot of cooks in the kitchen there, but I think a lot of options on what they can do. And then the Preds now have Cratch, McGlade, and Fleer. So there could be some interesting stuff they could do with those 3 because they're all pretty capable, I think. So,
who I think could be a great closer in this league is Sawyer Bean.
Definitely.
Just drop them.
Yeah.
Just throw drops to everybody.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
For an inning. Why not?
Why not?
I mean, that's another example where he's definitely had games that he just can't find that with the ball.
For sure.
A certain ball. And so it's like, is it that game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you almost have to have that planned out before the game and have them both warm
Try
up.
it. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Good questions, Nigel. Before I let you go here, question for you. You were at the World Series in Atlanta. What did you like about the experience? And then, given you and I's relationship of your constructive criticism, what's one thing you didn't like and you want to see us do differently next year?
Oh, man. Okay. I was not prepared for this, but
I'm always keeping people on the edge of their seat,
yeah.
Nigel.
You gotta be ready, Nigel.
I mean, the experience as a whole was pretty surreal. I mean, just getting to, be in Mercedes-Benz, which is an incredible venue, seeing, all you guys out there in person, some of which I met for the first time there. So, it was just really awesome. Really, really great environment. The fans were awesome. Met a lot of great fans there. I think if I had to improve upon it, I mean, I guess I was expecting the crowd to be like right over the fence. I know you guys have to do your camera stuff, and that's kind of what I realized as I was watching the games. But I would have liked to be a little bit closer to the action, I think, as an audience member.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's very fair. It really came down to safety, Nigel. They wouldn't let us go any closer to the crowd, unfortunately.
Oh, wow, okay.
But, different venues have different rules, so definitely I'm not going to rule that out in the future. As well as your brand continues to grow and evolve, you develop a sense of trust, and there's different legal things that you can do and put in place to where you're more protected versus previously. So,
yeah,
I definitely think that Kyle and I kind of agreed that we would love to have been closer, but with how high too, Nigel, the first row of seats was there, then like if you were sitting near the back of the crowd, then you wouldn't be able to see like balls in the outfield, which is also a problem. So those are the two things that prohibited us from doing that.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting layout there at Mercedes-Benz, but playing the way we set the field up at the ballpark that we played in St. Louis, like that was awesome because that was actually like a baseball field, and the way that the stands were with the level of it, like the fans were right there. Like they felt like they were on top of you, and I think the fans also thought that was like super cool. So.
I know. The one problem there too as a con is that because there's a net there, then they can't catch home runs.
Right.
The home runs can't fly over.
Right.
But in Mercedes-Benz, we were too far to even hit home runs.
And no one can throw socks over either.
No, let's not talk about the socks. But I got the socks into the crowd when Nigel was there. It's all that matters, right? Redeem myself a little bit. So, but cool. Well, thanks for coming out to Atlanta, Nigel. I know you went to, I think, a Midwest Slugfest or two in your day as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went to one. I think it was 2021. Got absolutely destroyed by MLW Blue, but
MLW Blue, man, they're my number one hit list too. Trust me, they've ruined my weekend many a times. But glad you made it out, and pleasure meeting you. And I'm glad you enjoyed the event as a whole. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you,
Jack, and I appreciate it. And
yeah, of course.
Fans that are listening and you want to be like Nigel and call in and ask a question live on the air, hit me up in the DMs on Instagram. I have my at the beginning of this episode, so you can check it out. But thanks, Nigel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So to wrap things up now, Jack, let's tell the fans about what we're doing.
We're gonna go a little competition here with some predictions, and we're gonna go slate by slate.
We are.
So we're gonna start with.
We're also kind of keep in mind we're kind of figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, we're sort of making.
This might evolve.
We came up with these rules like 20 minutes before recording this podcast. So they are going to be like this league, ever evolving and changing, and we're gonna figure it out as we go. So we're gonna see what works and what doesn't.
We're gonna have some discipline and some integrity. We're not gonna like totally throw things off, but we might introduce some new elements as we go.
Yeah.
But the basis, and correct me if I'm wrong, what we agreed upon is that so before each slate, so the MLW season currently has 5 slates where each team plays a series for 20 total series because each slate has 4 matchups of the 8 teams. So prior to each slate, no bye weeks. Prior to each slate, we will make our predictions for the 4 series, both the winner of the series as well as the outcome of the series. So like Magic Sweep or Magic 2-1. So you'll have to give who you think is going to win as well as the outcome in terms of 2-1 or 3-0. Now, to prevent a situation where Jack and I are tied or someone falls behind and then they can't play catch up, we're going to say that we can both pick the same team and the same outcome. But I didn't get the points yet. The points are important to this, guys. So
the points matter.
The points matter. This is the whole point of it, is the points. So you pick the team, you pick the outcome of the series. If you select the winning team in the series, that will earn you 2 points on the board.
Yeah.
And this is a season-long total. It'll go all year long. Jack versus me.
Yep.
Me versus Jack. 2 points for predicting a correct winner. You will gain an additional point for guessing correctly 2-1 or 3-0. But only one of us will be able to earn that additional bonus point.
Yeah.
So that's where I was getting to, saying we're not going to say we can't pick the same thing, but we're going to have a tiebreaker in place that will change each slate depending on how Jack and I are feeling. Have you lost me yet?
Are you with us? Are you with us?
To recap, 3 points possible in each slate. No.
All right.
You go.
All right, I got it. All right, here we go. We're going game by game through each slate. There's 3 possible points that you can earn per series.
Okay. Yes.
If you get the correct winner right, that's 2. If you get the correct outcome right, that's 3. So the only outcomes would be a 2-1 series and a 3-1 series. Correct. Or a 3-0 series. If we both, we're gonna stick to our guns here. Okay.
Yes.
We've done an honesty pledge here. We're an honest podcast. We're gonna stay that way. So if we both honestly have the same outcome that we are predicting, we are going to go for a tiebreaker. So we're going to pick some sort of stat and we're going to predict the number of that stat in that slate. So for slate 1, we have decided that the tiebreaker will be home runs in the series, total home runs.
Yes.
So if Tommy and I say Magic, we both think it'll be a Magic sweep, then we're going to have to give our prediction for how many total home runs we think in the series. Whoever gets closest to the prediction will win that additional point. So if the Magic win 3-0 and I got closer to the tiebreaker, I would get 3 points and Tommy would get 2 points.
And we'll alternate who picks first for tiebreaker, and we'll keep an honor system there.
Yeah.
So today for order, Jack, let's just go. You pick games. You pick series 1 and 3. I'll do 2 and 4.
Okay.
And whichever series you pick, if we have a tiebreaker, you can pick first for home run total.
Okay. Perfect.
Sound good? All right. So for Slate 1, guys, the matchups are Eagles versus Magic, Mallards versus Gators, Wildcats versus Diamondbacks, and Predators versus Cobras. Those are all taking place at the Meadows.
Yeah.
So to kick us off, Jack, Eagles versus Magic. Who do you got?
Shocker. But I'm going to go with my boys, the Magic. I will be predicting a 2-1 series win. I think that the Eagles have been putting in a lot of time over the offseason. They've had this one circled in red on their calendar for a long time. I think that will be good enough to get them 1 win, but not 2.
Okay. Now, I'm conflicted a little bit because I've seen, and I might be totally wrong on this, but I feel like there's a history more so, Jack, in these World Series matchups. It tends to swing in favor of the person who lost the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
I know we played the Wildcats in 2018 early on after we lost to them in the previous World Series. Maybe it was 2019 we played them, sorry. And we beat them in that series 2 out of 3. The Wildcats played the Diamondbacks in 2022 after the World Series, and the Wildcats won that series despite losing the World Series. And like last year, for example, we lost the NLCS to the Eagles, or to the D-backs, and then came back and beat the D-backs in the regular season. Like, there's a pattern there, but my brain tells me that the Magic are going to be more prepared for this one for whatever reason. I think Grant and RJ are going to be dialed in, and I will also go Magic 2-1. So let's do tiebreaker here.
Let's do tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So I go first for the tiebreaker. Yeah. I think that there will be 3 home runs in the series.
I'm going to go 4. 4 home runs.
Okay.
4 home runs in 3 games.
I was going to say, what if you said 5 and then there were 4?
Well, we will. Let's just not do that. Let's just not do that.
No, that's fine.
I'll go 4.
The over-under is 3.5 here.
3.5. I'll take the over.
Over-under is 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm taking the
Clean.
under.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right, so there you have it. Series 2, Mallards versus Gators. I am going to take shocker. I'm going to take the Mallards, and I'm going to say we sweep. Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got the Mallards sweeping. I mean, the Gators got to, like I said, they got to show me a reason that I wouldn't say that the Mallards would sweep.
And I'm going to say this series has 5 home runs.
I'll go under that.
Okay.
I'll take the under.
Okay. 4.5. I'm going over.
So is that what we're doing? We're basically setting the line.
The first person sets the line. I like that a lot. That's cool. Figuring it out.
Yep. Here we go.
Cats D-backs.
I can't wait for PB to write all this down and keep track of it. He's gonna have a spreadsheet.
PB, open up the Excel sheet.
Open up the sheet.
Write this down.
Get your sheet going. Okay, Wildcats, D-backs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Diamondbacks.
Ooh. I'm going to go 2-1 Cats.
Okay.
So no tiebreaker there.
No tiebreaker
2-1
there.
Cats. Now, why do you think D-backs real quick?
I think that, I think it'll at least take, it was nice that Ty got out there to the spring training, which probably, helped him. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll take them at least a series to kind of figure out like what they're going to do pitching wise. And I think the D-backs are kind of on a little bit of a
mission
revenge tour. It's just been too long for Jimmy not being in a World Series, so he starts
you're
to
saying
get
too much. I'm starting to think too hard a little bit here.
You know what I'm saying?
I already said my pick. But Cats, I think the Cats lose game 1, then win the next 2. That's my prediction.
Okay.
So
okay.
Preds Cobes to wrap up the first slate. I am going to take the Preds. I'm going to say Preds 3-0.
Okay. I'm going to go Preds 2-1.
Okay.
I think the Preds will win, but I think the Cobes will snake one out.
Yeah, it's tough because game 2 could go a lot of different directions
for
in
you,
that series. That was good. Game 2 could be that might be a 15-14 type game.
It could go any, when there's wild card scenarios,
Yes.
that tends to favor Drew Davis. So
Yeah. And Ryan's also coming fresh off of baseball, so he might not be in his MVP form quite yet.
Yep.
So interesting things. But all right, PB, write that down and
Can't wait to see his graphics for the rules.
Play along at home as well. See how
Yep.
many points you can rack up this year. Again, maximum of 3 points per series, 2 if you get your prediction right, and 1 bonus for the correct outcome / tiebreaker.
I love it.
I bet you, Jack, like 24 hours from now, we'll have a better idea of how to score this. But
I think we also, did we not say that we were going to come up with a punishment?
We did say that,
at the end of the season.
we did say there would
lost?
be something on the line here. I didn't think of anything. Did you?
I haven't thought of anything yet necessarily, but maybe you guys have some good
Tell you what.
family-friendly punishments that we could do.
Tell you what. Yeah, let's go. Put some punishments in the comments on YouTube, or I'll put that as our Spotify prompt as well. If you're a Spotify listener, you can leave a little short answer there, or even just DM it to me personally or Jack, or to us on Instagram at PipeItUpMLW. Keep it something we can maybe do on the channel or do behind the scenes and share with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be money. That's lame.
One that I thought would be funny would be the loser has to full on caddy around for the other person.
Walking 18.
Walking 18.
That would be fun.
Being their caddy.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not opposed to it. But let's see what the fans come up with.
Yeah.
I'll come up with some ideas too.
Okay.
And we'll make a selection that is both, whether it's me or you or someone else's idea, we'll do what's best for the brand.
I like it.
So cool. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be a wrap for this one. Opening day is indeed this Friday on YouTube. It is going to be the Magic taking on the Eagles in the World Series rematch. Should be a good one. Kyle Schultz on the call.
Jimmy Norp on the call.
Jimmy Norp on the co-commentating. And this is...
Do you want to address that at all?
I don't know. It's been a long episode already.
It has been long.
But people definitely have questions. We'll probably talk about it at some point.
Okay.
But I'm still here, guys.
Until then, hold.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk about it soon. But Jim's the guy. Jim's the
great.
guy. I think I told when we invited. This is what I'll say. When we invited Jimmy over to kind of tell him what was happening behind the scenes and how Kyle wanted to bring him on is to kind of be the person on camera that I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, he was like, Tom, you're so great. Why do you want to do it? Blah blah blah. And I was like, Jim, let's call a spade here, man. I was like, I think I do a decent job, and I do better some days than others. And of course, there was a lot more that's happening at the field and behind the scenes than just what's on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, in terms of actually being on camera, the people want more Norp, man. Like,
They do.
give the people what they want. I'm a good-looking guy, sure, but I'm not as popular as Jimmy.
They want Norp.
Like, I think brand first. Jimmy's the guy that people want.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the nice comments about my commentating and stuff on that Instagram post, and I thought I did a good job for the most part, like I said. But
I thought you did great.
Jimmy's one of one. His personality plays very well to the MLW audience, and I think I like my sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't say that I use it to my full advantage on camera.
Yeah.
Which is always tricky.
I think you do a great job.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it.
I'll miss you out there.
I'm sure I'll make some cameos from time to time. I'm going to go help Jimmy out today because Jimmy will be filming too, so I'm going to go help him get the ball rolling there for opening day.
Verbal meme would be Jimmy's face on like a clown with like huge clown shoes. Like, because he's just got such big shoes to fill.
Oh, big shoes to fill. Yeah, he's got about 10 and a half to fill. That's what we're dealing with over here. But thank you guys for tuning in and just dial into the pod, guys. We're excited for this year. We're gonna be doing more stats-based conversations, working analytics a little bit into our conversations, bringing on players each week, and we really want to put our best foot forward with the pod here. So if you guys aren't subscribed already, please subscribe and tune in. We'll do some fun stuff on the pod. Let us know what you want to see, and buckle up for another year.
Let's do it.
Well said, Jack. Any final comments there?
Wands up.
Wands up. I'll be rooting for you, Jack, for the record. I'll be rooting for you and a lot of good guys, man. A lot of good guys.
Good guys.
If Bennett was playing, I'd root for Bennett. If Bennett was playing, I'd root for Bennett. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Drew Davis thinks that Matt Carlington has the best mustache potential in the league, and we will see you all next Wednesday.
Pipe it up.